चलो फिर इकोनॉमिक्स के बारे में बात करते हैं. You brought it up last time as well. You spoke about how to price different dishes. Problem ये है कि सबको रेस्टोरेंट खोलना है, but this is actually a mystery कि what are the different costs, how much revenue can you expect, and you're doing a great job in really shedding some light into the business aspect of it. तो मुझे वो explore करना है आपके साथ. मैं रेस्टोरेंट खोलने वाला हूँ. What are the different costs that I can expect? The fixed costs, the capital expenditure, operating costs, your revenue expenditure. फिर कितना margin expect कर सकते हैं? What are different revenue streams? Just break down the economics of it.
Sure. So if we look at, again, we'll have to look at the category of restaurants. Some category of restaurants will not even have that kind of expense that we're going to talk about, maybe a restaurant in the order of Hakkasan, for example, right? Now, basics. Let's first attempt basics, okay? So your first basic is your rental, because that's your biggest expense. Then from that, your biggest expense is your staffing. Right, because in UAE staffing is not cheap. You have to get visas, you got to get accommodations, transport. Everything is a cost. Insurances, everything is a cost. So,
as an estimate, कितना लगता है सब rent में, staff में?
Okay, in India, a restaurant should not go above 18 to 20% of your total sales. So if you're making $1 million, then 200,000 से ज़्यादा rent नहीं हो सकता. Otherwise, you'll be making losses. But are you aware of Mumbai market?
Not that much.
But Mumbai, BKC is the most prime area.
Yeah.
And today is the most expensive area in terms of, so there people are even serving 30 to 35% rentals. But
BKC में rent करने कितना rent आता होगा?
20 lakh? 2 million rupees. Yeah. To run a restaurant of 3,000 square feet with a 20 lakh rupee rental, you need a sale of 1 CR.
Easy.
Yeah. So we're breaking down. So that's your rental. Then your staffing in UAE goes up to 23 to 24%. In India, we still have cheaper labor than here and not so many things. So it goes to about 15 to 18%.
तो 40 to 45% तो इधर ही हो गया. Rent and salaries.
मेन खर्चा आपका हुआ है. Rent and salaries. उसके अलावा फिर आपका इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का एक्सपेंस आएगा, आपका वाटर का एक्सपेंस आएगा, यूटिलिटीज का आएगा. इन UAE you have more expense because you have to have a hygiene manager either from outside or inside, because you have to have regular hygiene audits. Health and hygiene पे काफ़ी खर्चा होता है because simple things like yesterday I was standing in the kitchen at Lenoir and मैंने टिश्यू मांगा, वो बंदा ऐसे निकाल रहा है, ऐसे मैं ये लेके नहाने जाऊँ? And he said, Chef, why? I said, do you guys even think that how much that one roll of tissue costs? It might be just tissue for you, but for me it costs 18 dirhams for that roll. And in a day you're going through 6 rolls like that. And in a month, if I just reduce 1 roll a day, that's 30 rolls less. That's 18 into 3. That much dirhams saved. Money saved is money earned. Every single cost has to be looked at. So which means that starting from my rental, if my positioning of the restaurant has to be XYZ, I have to see that do I need a rental of 80,000, 90,000 or $1 million or 100,000 a month? Or can I look at a place which will still give me decent money if my rental is 20,000, 25,000, right? I'm talking about UAE now. So that's where you have to decide which category of restaurants are you opening, right? Now, again, category of the restaurants, your salaries will change. Because, a South Indian cook versus a Michelin star chef. A Michelin star chef's salary is anywhere between 35,000 to 40,000 dirhams a month, right? Probably more, with more perks, right? But they're making about 800,000 to $1 million every month, right? So it's proportional. Everything is proportional. And your business has to be proportional.
आपका रेंट भी ज़्यादा होगा, आप कोई रेस्टोरेंट मतलब बड़े होटल में या कहीं और है.
Right. So अगर आप उस बैलेंस को मिटिगेट कर देते हो, then you're a successful businessman, right? That's why I said vision and money. Now you know that अगर मुझे पता है कि ये ना आज नहीं चलेगा, 6 महीने बाद this place is going to rock. So as a shallow businessman, I will look at the losses that I'm incurring in 6 months. But as a visionary businessman, I am saying, okay, I'm going to lose $1 million. And I've already figured that out in my vision statement, because I'm going to make 5 million in the next 1 year. If that is your vision and that's how strongly you believe about the product and the concept, you will do it. So it's a balancing game, really. So your rentals, your staff, your utilities, then comes majorly your food cost and your beverage cost. So ideally, your food cost should be 30% is what they say, thumb rule. But I never run my kitchen on 30%. Because as I said, every cost can be relooked at. So when I joined Westin Mumbai Garden City as the executive chef, the food cost was 31%. According to the Gora executive chefs who was on a salary of, at that time in India, about $60,000 a year. No, more. I think he was making about $11,000 a month. Yeah, $11,000 a month. Right. So his hygiene rating was 65%. His food cost was 31%. And the food quality was bad. I come in and I see, and otherwise it's not rocket science. It's common sense. So you start looking at things and you look at people's faces when they're picking up the food. Everybody is not very delighted. Food is one thing that you put one spoon, one morsel in your mouth, and your face expressions tell you everything. So for me, I don't sometimes go and ask every guest, how was the food? I sometimes stand at the dishwasher and see if the plates are coming out wiped clean. Or I just stand there and look at people's faces. You get a whole lot of feedback then and there. And sometimes, for me, my standards are कि कोई guest ना हाथ नहीं उठाएगा. Excuse me, नहीं करेगा. That's my standard of my restaurant. अगर किया तो manager तेरी खैर नहीं है. Because you're not doing your job properly. So it's all trickling in. You've not trained your people. You're not attentive to your
आपको anticipate करके पहले पहुंच जाना है उधर.
And those are the places people love to go. Because everybody who's spending 100 dirhams on a meal, for example, wants to be valued. That's the first and basic foundational thing. If I'm spending money, I need to be valued. Otherwise, I can take this piece of business and give it to somebody else who values me. Why should I come to you? You give me good food, not as good as maybe the other person. So your food and your experience both are counting, right? So coming back to food cost, it's about 30%, and your beverage cost what? 20%. So आप बोलेगा, बचा क्या?
तो already 100 तो ही गया थे.
But that's where the game lies. The margins are thin. But the margins are thin, and a net profit of EBITDA, I'm talking about. If a restaurant which is on very high expenses can give you a 11 to 12% EBITDA, is good EBITDA, right? Because you're not going to make money in day one, you're going to make money over a period of time. But ROE and ROI दोनों साथ-साथ चल रही हैं. But on a place like Sarvana Bhavan, your EBITDA should be anywhere between 20 to 25%. Yeah, because every cost is lower. There is no tissue changing every time. There is no high-fi waiters and managers who are at a very high salary. You are also not sitting at a very high rental. So again, money saved is money earned, right? Every bit of experience costs money. So if you're giving that much experience, you have to charge that much, right? You just can't be charging that much and then not giving. So it's all, balancing act. बहुत सारी जगहों पे आप जाते हो इतना महंगा होता है, but you don't feel worth it. But if you're not going to feel worth it, are you going to go again? You're not. Again, balancing act. So if you're charging that much, you give that much. If you're giving that much, you charge that much. It's both hand in hand. It cannot be like, okay, I'll keep giving. Then you become a Danveer Karan. Then you're not in the business of making money. So you have to be in the fact that, no, you give great food, great service at a great price, which is in the market acceptable. If everybody is serving a prosciutto di Parma platter, for example, at, sorry, wrong example, in UAE. Let's say a chole bhature, for example, right? The best place is serving it at 25 dirhams and you're serving it at 5 dirhams. You're stupid. That's what I can say. Or you're running a bakala in the format of a restaurant. So you have to understand where you are, who you are serving, how much you're serving, at what cost you're serving, and then finally how much you're making home. So if these figures are not in the ranges of, mota of what we've spoken about, over a period of, any restaurant doesn't start making money on day one. If by the 6th month you're still putting in money, which means you're not reached a break even, then there is definite problems in the restaurant that you got to.
तो 6 महीने आपका
6 महीने जाएगा.
क्रिटिकल पीरियड है.
And that money you have to keep in your bank. Because you can't tell your staff ना मैं सैलरी नहीं दूंगा, पैसा आएगा तो दूंगा.
तो अगर 1 करोड़ का इन्वेस्टमेंट है कितना कंटिजेंसी होना चाहिए?
1 करोड़
है. तो अगर 2 करोड़ है तो फिर 1 करोड़ रखना पड़ेगा.
Why I'm saying this is because when you drive a car, you don't drive a car to know that मेरा आज 500 का फाइन होने वाला है. बट फाइन हो गया, अब 500 ही नहीं है तो कहाँ क्या करूँगा, राइट? सो देर आर थिंग्स विच हैपन विच यू डोंट एक्सपेक्ट इन अ रेस्टोरेंट. देर इज अ सडन रेड दैट हैपन्स. और आज बारिश हो गई, मेरा वीकेंड का सारा सामान लेके आया था मैं, खराब हो गया. Those exigencies you have to keep in mind. That there's a element of, surplus or element of wastage that will come in or will kick in somehow. So in the longer run, that's why all our P&L statements are never looked at monthly. We look at monthly, we divide them daily. Our targets are looked at monthly, our targets are given daily. But when I'm looking at it as a business, I'm looking at an yearly performance of the business because I'm not running this restaurant for every day. If I'm doing it every day, then I'm not a visionary. I have to look at it कि मैंने इस साल में इतना बनाया है, इस साल में इतना लॉस किया है, या इस साल में इतना प्रॉफिट किया है. नेक्स्ट ईयर मेरा बेसिस, अगेन डेटा मैनेजमेंट, I've never done data science, but next year इस डेटा के मुताबिक में, भाई January was a bad month. So if you want to give leaves to people, give it in January.